What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. Today we're going to talk about something completely different. I mean, y'all kind of know what's going on with the pre-spawn, spawn, and post-spawn. I've done cover that in past videos, some of the baits and stuff to use. So today I've been getting a lot of questions. I mean, just several different questions about basic stuff, and it's not a problem. That's awesome that y'all are asking that because, I mean, you never know a technique that is, you know, pretty simple that a lot of people use that a lot of people don't know about. So we're going to cover basically just the basics of bass fishing, stuff that you need to just cover your basic needs. So stay tuned. This is something you don't want to miss. So the first thing we're going to cover is just reel and rod setups. So just something real simple that, you know, everybody can use. So one of the first ones we're going to talk about is a casting rod. So the casting rods that I choose to use and that I really feel comfortable using is the Ducket rod. So whether it's a Triad or it's a Green Ghost or something like that, all their lineup's really good. If you want to go on the cheaper side, go to your Ducket Green Ghost. It's a $79 rod. It's a wonderful rod. I use them all the time. I use them on tour. The Ducket Triad is another great one. It's a little less expensive than the Micro Magics and stuff, but it's very similar. It's a very good, durable micro guide casting rod. And that's the thing too. If you're dealing with the micro guides, I like them for my spinner baits and crankbaits and stuff like that. That way I can make those precise casts. That's the whole point of the micro guides, is making precise casts wherever you're trying to get. That is a question that I got a while back. I took some kids out on the lake, and every one of them asked me, they're like, how does it seem that when you guys have a tournament or anything like that, like y'all are always on them, y'all know how to catch them right then and stuff? Well, what they don't see and what y'all don't see is the time and effort that we put in to find those fish. So you're talking weeks long of practicing just to find a good, comfortable bag of fish to hopefully get a check or win the tournament. One of the ways that we do that is hitting high percentage areas. So using a rod to hit those high percentage areas, like if I'm fishing a dock, I'm seeing that everybody's hitting the front of the dock, the side of the dock, behind the dock and stuff, but I don't see a whole lot of people skipping in between that little bitty section where the bridge comes out that connects to the dock. You see what I'm saying? Little stuff like that. So to cover the basics of stuff, a very simple bait to use that'll catch you fish in your creeks, your ponds, your lakes, your rivers, the whole 9 yards. It covers a little bit of everything. I mean, you can go and wear out brim on this. It's an inline spinner. A lot of people know it as a rooster tail. It's just got a spinner right here on a swivel, and then it's a body that slides up and down, and then a treble hook on the back. Me and my uncle actually walked down at the creek behind the house yesterday. We caught, I don't know, probably 15 fish in like 3 spots, you know. So it was a good day to just, you know, go down on the creek. But he was catching them off a small crankbait, and I was catching them off an inline spinner. So, you know, that's a very simple setup. This is a 7-foot medium heavy. That's the key too, guys. You don't want something real long, because if you're fishing around ponds and stuff, creeks and stuff like that, you don't want a long rod because there's trees and stuff all around you, brush and everything else. Plus, when you hook that fish, if you got a long rod, you got to back up and keep reeling to get that fish up on the bank or try to swing him if it's a bigger fish. So a 7-foot allows me to hold my rod at this angle right here and then pull up and bring that fish to me to where I can get my hands on it. That way I'm safely landing the fish, because that's one of the keys to fishing, in my opinion. I mean, conservation is a big thing. These fish are, you know, going to be there for future generations, we hope. So we want to take care of them every time we get them. We get a hold of one. So, you know, the boat flipping and all that stuff, it looks cool and stuff, but it's not really good for the fish. Take your time, sit down, get your hands in its mouth, pick it up, show it to the camera, throw it back, or whatever you're trying to do. Put it in your live well, keep it safe. Make sure you got some G-Juice or Shad Keep or something like that to help refill those fish on their electrolytes and stuff like that. Keep them alive, keep them very healthy. So a reel that I like to use, a Daiwa. This is the it's a CG80. I like the Tatulas. I like the CC80s. I like the Fugos. I use all the Daiwa reels. This is a really good setup. The Lose reels are really good. I've used them before. Some of the Quantum stuff's good. I mean, just about every reel brand. Just be cautious on buying reels that you never heard of, just because of the fact that a lot of these companies, they're building them in some places that they're kind of just throwing them together. I mean, you can look on YouTube and stuff and look up reel reviews that they'll last probably 10 or 12 casts and they start making noise and so on and so forth. So, you know, just take your time, do your research on your reels. Go to a Bass Pro Shops, a Cabela's, or any of your tackle stores that carry a lot of reels. Get them in your hand, see how they feel. Because, you know, I love the Daiwas and I like the Lose. But, like, a lot of people that I know use Shimano's. I don't like the Shimano's just because they doesn't feel that comfortable in my hand. The Daiwas and the Lose feel very comfortable in my hand. Some of the Quantums do also. But that's a real simple setup. So your 7-foot medium heavy casting rod, whichever one you choose, and then you know, do some research on reels. Go feel them, see what you think, how they feel in your hand, because you want to be comfortable. Now, as far as line, I'm sorry guys, I'm fighting pollen. I'm sorry I keep just like that. I can't help it. But as far as line, people have different opinions on line. My dad's been a string guy for years. It's the only line he'll use. He has confidence in it. I've had too many mishaps with string line, so I don't really deal with string. One of the lines that I feel very, very comfortable with, well, there's actually two that I'll use. And this is not a promo video, by the way. I'm not just showing you this stuff to promo companies or anything like that. It's not a paid production or anything like that. I'm giving you my honest opinion on what I use and stuff like that. So the line that I typically like to use, on the cheaper end, I like the Seaguar Red Label Fluorocarbon. A good mindset is 15-pound test. That allows me to get up into cover and cover several areas and stuff like that without having to worry about, you know, abrasion, breaking my line, stuff like that. Another line, I like the Berkeley lines, whether it's monofilament or their trilene fluorocarbon. They're really good lines. They're fairly inexpensive. They're really, really good lines. But if you're looking for a cheaper end line, like for braiding stuff, I can't speak for their fluorocarbon or monofilament. I don't even know if they have that, but the Power Pro, it's a really good braided line. It's like $12 for like 40 or 60-pound test or something like that. I use it in the Smackdown Seaguar braided line. So, you know, a little summary for what we're using one more time. 7-foot medium heavy Ducket Triad, Green Ghost, something like that, whatever you feel comfortable buying. A Daiwa reel or a Lose, possibly a Quantum. It just all depends on what you want. You know, research it. Line, 12 to 15-pound fluorocarbon line, whichever one you decide to choose. So that's a good casting setup. We'll move on to the spinning reel setup, because you got to have a casting and a spinning, so stay tuned. Okay guys, so now for your spinning outfit, I suggest having a casting rod for all-purpose uses, the 7-foot medium heavy, and I specifically suggest a spinning rod. Just because it's so versatile, you can use lighter stuff. When the fish get real lethargic, you know, not moving around, not really wanting to bite, a spinning rod can really shine and help you catch a lot more fish. So the setup, I like any of the Ducket rods as far as for a spinning outfit. This is the older Ducket Ghost. The Green Ghost is very similar. They have the Triads and so on and so forth. Jacob Wheeler series, whatever you want, they got it. So, you know, check out which one you like. Go to your nearest academy, something like that. You know, film them, see what you think about them, or check out whatever you need to check out, figure out what you want. But that's what I suggest is the Ducket rods. I really enjoy them. I am sponsored by them, but it's, like I said, this is what I use. So this is my opinion. Now, the spinning reel outfit. The spinning reel that I like to use, I'm a big Daiwa fan, but the Lose has got really, really good spinning reels for way less, great drag systems, and a higher gear ratio. So on a spinning outfit, I want the highest gear ratio that I can get. If I could buy a 10-1-to-1 gear ratio spinning reel, the smaller size, I definitely would. But a 6-2 to 1 gear ratio or a 6 something to 1 gear ratio reel is what I suggest. That way, if those fish are grabbing your shaky head, your Ned rig, your drop shot, or anything like that, I can set the hook and take up a lot of line very, very fast. Because when you're using the spinning outfit, most of the time when the fish bites, they're going to be taking it and running with it. So you're going to have to take up line really, really fast. And while you're reeling, most of the time it sets the hook on the fish. So your faster gear ratio spinning reels, that's what you want. Now, I would suggest as far as rod, get in something like a 7-foot medium heavy. That's because it'll be like an all-purpose. You can run small swim baits. You can run small spinner baits, crankbaits, stuff like that. Plus your Ned rigs, your shaky heads, the whole 9 yards. It would be very, very versatile. So the line that I prefer to use, this is opinion. Some people use braid to fluorocarbon. Some people use straight fluorocarbon. Some people use monofilament. I run a braid to fluorocarbon leader. The reason I do that, the braid gives me great casting ability, it's stronger, no stretch. And then the reason that I tie the fluorocarbon on the end of it, it's got a tiny, tiny bit of stretch, not near as much as monofilament, but it's got a tiny, tiny bit of stretch. Plus, it's not completely invisible under the water, but it is pretty much near impossible to actually see the line. I usually run an 8-pound Seaguar Smackdown high vis braid. I use the yellow vis. The reason I do that is when my line's laying on top of the water, if those fish bite it, I can see them taking off way before I start feeling it. So I already know that I got a fish. And then I run a 7.3-pound leader with the Seaguar Finesse fluorocarbon. I got it right there. I mean, you can run red label, 8-pound, whatever you want to run, but that's just my setup, what I use. So like I said, that is 2 very simple outfits that every bass fisherman needs. You need a good casting rod, you need a good spinning rod. Spinning reel and casting reel. So that's my setups for that. Stay tuned, I'm going to give you some very basic baits, very basic rigging techniques, so on and so forth. Okay, guys, real quick before we get into all the rigging and stuff like that, I'm going to answer a fan's question. I got a message the other day asking how to use a jerkbait, how I use it, how I prefer to use it, so on and so forth. Okay, this varies on the time of year. Not much, but it varies. So during the winter, you know that the fish are cold, the water's cold, so on and so forth, so your bait and stuff's going to be moving slow. The bass and stuff's going to be moving slow. So you kind of want to slow it down with the jerkbait. What I mean by that, I'll take this thing, I will cast it, and I will start working it immediately until I get it down to the desired depth that I feel comfortable, or the area that I feel comfortable there's fish in. So that's the first part. Cast it out there, work it down to the area that you feel like the strike zone is. Once I get there, I'll work it in a twitch, stop for like 2 to 3 seconds. A lot of people have different opinions on it. A lot of them tell you pause it for 10, 15 seconds. I'm not doing all that. I'm not looking for the fish that are the smartest. I'm not looking for the fish that are going to come up and look at my lure and say, well, I don't think that's real or whatever, or stare at it and not hit it and stuff like that. I'm looking for the dumbest, hungriest fish in the lake, and that's how I target them with the jerkbait. So throw it out there, twitch it a couple times during the winter now. That's the big thing. During the winter. I'm talking, typically if the water temperature is 50 degrees or below, that's when I do this. Twitch, stop. 1, 2, 3, twitch, stop. 1, 2, 3, twitch, 1, 2, 3. Reel it back up, make another cast. During the spring, like when I say spring, I'm talking 52 degrees and above, like all the way up to, you know, midsummer till the water temperature is 110 degrees. So basically, I'll throw this thing out there and I'm working it as fast as possible. I mean, I'm 1, 2, 3, might stop just to catch up with my line for a second. 1, 2, 3, catch up with my line, pop. I mean, just work it as fast as you can. I want this thing going way over here, way over here, way over here, way over here. I mean, I want it going crazy, like it's just trying to get away from something, it's dying, anything. I'm looking for that reaction bite. I'm not looking for them to come up and look at it. Like I said, I want them to just see it and automatically react to it. That's how you'll catch a lot bigger fish, a lot more fish, the whole 9 yards with a simple jerkbait. All right, guys. So now we're going to go over a lot of just simple baits, baits that every angler needs to have. Whether you're fishing creeks, whether you're fishing ponds, whether you're fishing lakes, rivers, whatever, the whole 9 yards. This is definitely hard baits that you need to have in your box to try out, move through the patterns and stuff to see what those fish would like, what presentation, so on and so forth. So the first one we're going to talk about, it's really simple, a small crankbait. So whether that's this one right here is a Strike King, it's a Series 3. This bait is specifically designed to go through cover and stuff. So when you're fishing these crankbaits, you need to be casting them close to cover, around cover, past cover, in cover, through cover, the whole 9 yards. You want this thing bouncing off of stuff. If you're scared you're going to get it hung up and lose it, then you're not going to catch as many fish. But what I can suggest when you're using crankbaits and stuff, get you some what's called pocket knockers. This is made by Swampers. There's a bunch of different kinds. This is just the one that I use. All you do, you clip this on your line, let the weight slide down there. When it hits down there, it'll either knock it loose or either you can sit there and shake your rod and it will knock your crankbait back loose. Reel it up, check your line, make sure it's not shredded or nothing like that. Make another cast. Those will save you a lot of money. They're like $4 or $5 for like 3 or 4 of them or something. But they're awesome. I use them all the time. So a little Strike King Series 3 crankbait, the Wiggle Warts, the Bombers, the 6 cents, the whole 9 yards. They all make good crankbaits that you can catch fish off of. You don't have to get crazy with it and spend $25 on a crankbait, okay? I've caught them on $2 crankbaits and I've caught them on $6 crankbaits. They're not picky. They got little bitty brains. Keep it really simple. You'll catch a lot more fish. Just look and see where it looks fishy, what would look most natural coming through the water at an angle. That's the biggest thing. Look and see which way the wind's blowing. If the wind's blowing this way and it seems like it would push shad and stuff in this direction, you want to cast that direction up from the wind, bring your bait to it. That makes it a lot more natural. A lot of people don't do that. It's like in current and stuff. You want to pitch up current and bring your bait down current. You never pitch down current and bring it up current because it just doesn't look natural. So your little bitty crankbaits like this, with the round bill, they are perfect, imitators of shad and stuff like that. You can get it in crawl colors if you're scraping the bottom and stuff. If for some reason it drives bass crazy. So another one that we can talk about as far as crankbaits. This is a Squarebill crankbait. The Squarebills, they are really good for going through cover and suspended bass and stuff like that. You're going to work this the same way. You're going to run it through cover. You're going to run it around cover, past cover, the whole 9 yards. You work it really fast. You work it really slow. And with the round bill crankbaits like I just showed you, most of the time I'm doing a slow reel, letting it bounce off of stuff, pause it, might jerk it a little bit, just make it look a little lifelike, bring a little life to it. Square bills, most of the time I'm wide open. And I'm casting it out there and I'm burning it back. I'm going as fast as I can. I'm trying to make them react kind of similar to what I was talking about the jerkbait earlier. So your square bills, your Strike Kings, your Lucky Crafts, your Lucky Strikes. There's tons of them out there. I'm just naming off ones that I use. These are just perfect little tools to get into deep cover and stuff like that. So make sure you got you some square bills. And guys, keep your colors simple. Stuff that looks like shad, stuff that looks like crawfish, stuff that looks like brim. Colors catch fishermen. They catch your wallets. That's all they're about. They have nothing to do with catching fish. If you got a green crankbait, just solid green, as green as my shirt, if it's as green as this shirt, and then I got another one that's green like this with a bunch of orange and blue and stuff like that in it. They can't tell the difference between the solid green crankbait that looks like a brim and the green crankbait that's got the blue and the orange and all that stuff in it that looks like a brim. They think it's a brim either way. It doesn't matter. Keep it very simple. Save your money for your entry fees and other equipment that you need to guarantee your success, whether it's a boat, kayak, whatever. So, covering on the moving stuff and the crankbaits, an old school Bill Lewis rattle trap. This is a chrome and blue one Works really good for imitating blueback herring and stuff like that. Good shad. Now if you look, I've got a treble hook on the front but not one on the back. Well, there's a reason to that. It's not because I took one off just to put another hook on it. The reason for that is when I'm running these lipless crankbaits and stuff, what you can see, this thing has got teeth marks all over it. But the reason I take the back hook off most of the time, I'm running this thing through cover. I'm throwing it up in cover. This bait moves at this angle and digs. So when it hits this and goes up over, a lot of times when it gets right here, it'll turn upwards. That back hook will catch on the limb. Most of the time, that's what gets you hung up on a lipless crankbait. So what I do, I take the back hook off. A lot of people think you'd miss a lot of fish. And don't get me wrong, you miss fish on everything that you fish with. But a lot of times you'll get it, get the fish fairly well. Just leaving that front hook on there. So a lot of times when it comes over the cover, they're going to hit it face forward. So, you're usually getting that hook. So, once again, keep the colors real simple. Something chrome. If you're fishing a herring fishery or somewhere with a lot of chrome fish in it, your greens, your chartreuse, your crawfish colors, the whole 9 yards, just use them. Now I use the old Bill Lewis rattle traps. I use the Booyah one knockers. I use the Booyah hard knockers, and I also use the Berkeley War Pigs. The War Pigs I've found is the most dominant as far as coming through cover and stuff. I can really cover a lot of water and throw up in cover with a Berkeley War Pig. So check them out. You'll really like them. The old Bill Lewis, the Berkeley War Pig, something really simple. You can use to come in several different sizes. You can cover a lot of water. So another one that I use a lot around cover and stuff, the one that I use most of the time is the Z-Man jackhammer. They're $16, $17. I don't know if they work better or if it's in my mind or in everybody else's mind. But another one that I use a lot that a lot of people don't, which is good, which is probably fixing to change now that I'm showing you this, the old Booyah Melee vibrating jig. Now this one's got a completely different head style. If you look, see how the head's like this? Okay, this gives out a completely different sound than the jackhammer and the Strike King Thunder Cricket and stuff like that. These are like $6 or $7. They work very well. They got your black and blues, your green pumpkins, the white and chartreuse. I mean, whatever color you want, they got it. It works very well. These vibrating jigs, basically, you throw them out there, and you're just slow reeling it. Sometimes they want it a little bit faster. This thing starts vibrating as soon as it hits the water, so it's very simple, very easy to work and catch you a lot of fish. So you can put your trailers on there, whether you want a swim bait trailer or crawl trailer or anything like that. You got to play around with that and figure out what you want to do and what the fish want. So, mess around with that a little bit. Now, another one that everybody's got to have in their tackle box is a jig. Now, this is a G-Money jig. This is like a watermelon with a little bit of chartreuse in it. A football head. The key to the football heads is it's got a different style fall, and when it hits the bottom, it rotates back and forth depending on the direction that it falls. And I can cover a lot of water with a football head. I can swim it. I can work it on bottom. I can pick it up and jerk it real fast like a dying shad or a crawfish or anything like that. It imitates a lot of stuff. You can cover a lot of water, get in a lot of cover, and catch a lot of fish. So you want to use trailers and stuff. That's very simple. Your crawl trailers. That's about the only ones that I'll use. I'll use the Yum Crawl chunks. I'll use the Strike King Rage tail crawl chunks, stuff. I mean, just stuff like that. Very simple. The grub's when it's colder, the crawl's when it's warmer, but you gotta have a jig in your box. Now, let's talk about the funnest time, Topwater. Okay, you guys see the MLF guys, Bass Pro guys, all of us using the Topwater baits. One of the ones that you see most predominantly is a buzzbait. And one of the reasons that we use a buzzbait is because we can skip this under stuff, we can pull it around cover, we can stay really tight to the water, get a lot of bites, cover tons of water, eliminate a lot of water real fast. A buzzbait's very simple. Typically I'll use it on like 40-pound braid, cast it out there, keep my rod tip high, and reel it. And this thing will just jerk through the water, spin, make some crazy noise the fish like for some reason, blow up on it. It's just a wonderful bait. It's very, very simple. Once again, you just throw it out there, keep your rod tip high, slow reel it. Another topwater bait that everybody has to have, a lot of people don't use anymore, hula popper. A hula popper is wonderful as far as just when you get them slick, calm water days, you can sit there and just bloop, slowly pop it, let it sit for a few seconds, slowly pop it, let it sit for a few seconds, and then on those windy days, you can work it real fast. So bloop, 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 you know, and they'll come up and hit it. So this is a bait that'll cover just about everything. One of the keys to the hula poppers is the feather tail. So they're seeing this from the bottom, and you know, the good thing about this one, they don't even make this one anymore. This is a Excalibur popper, but it's got the white belly, and then it's got the chartreuse front lip. That gives them a little bit of a target where hopefully they'll get that front hook, and if they don't, you've got the back feather hook for them, something to target. Most of the time when you catch fish off this, they're going to get the whole bait anyway, so it's not that real big of a deal. But a hula popper is definitely another one. So, guys, we've talked about our hard baits. We've talked about our setups, our lines, the whole 9 yards. All these baits that I'm talking about, I typically stick to the same brands. I'm using Strike King. I'm using Booyah. I'm using, you know, just figure out which brand that you feel most comfortable with. Purchase that brand. They all catch fish. It's no big deal. But we covered the hard baits. We're going to move on to the soft baits that everybody needs in their tackle box, how to rig them, how to set them up, the whole 9 yards. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, so now we're going to talk about your 6 soft baits that you got to have in your box. I mean, they catch fish no matter where you're at in the country. Catch them in creeks, rivers, lakes, so on and so forth. We done talked about that. So I'm going to show you the baits and then show you how to rig them, how I prefer to rig them. So one of the few essentials that you got to have is some weights. I use the 1/4 ounce to 3/8 ounce wood tungstens. What brands you use, that's completely up to you. The Strike King brands, the Titan tungstens, so on and so forth, they're all about the same. They're really, really good. I mean, you've got your non-chip paint and you got your chip paint. So your 1/4 ounce to 3/8 ounce bullet weights, you got to have some of them. The hooks, I like the Gamakatsu heavy cover flipping hooks. These will provide you for you know, flipping into cover, fish that are on bed, stuff like that. Another essential is a shaky head. This one's a Gamakatsu, or it's not a Gamakatsu, it's made by Big Bite Baits, but it's got the Gamakatsu hooks. Gamakatsu's the only hooks that I use. I've just used them since I was a kid. I love them. They're the only hooks that I prefer. My trebles, my worm hooks, so on and so forth. But your 3/16 ounce, that's about the heaviest that I'll go. I might go to a 1/4 ounce when I'm fishing a deep Highland reservoir, but shaky head, you got to have one. All right, and then you've got your standard offset EWG worm hook. This is a Gamakatsu Superline 3/0 hook. I prefer the Superline because when I set the hook, I set the hook hard. I don't need the hook bending. I don't need any of that crazy stuff going on. I want to make sure when I set the hook, I got the fish, and that's all I got to worry about. So we're going to start with a simple bait known as a fluke. Now this is a Zoom fluke. It's a solid white color. It mimics a shad. Dying. So that's one of the keys, and it all depends on how you work it. Now the way that I rig my flukes, if you watch the Smith Lake Live video I did on Facebook, most of the fish that I caught was off of a fluke. So what I'll do, you'll take your standard Gamakatsu EWG Superline hook. I'll rig this thing through the top, just like this. See where the bend is? And then I want that hook coming out right at the bottom lip inside there. The reason for this is when I slide this up here and twist all the way up, the bend of the hooks right there, this is slid up over my knot, helps protect my knot on hook sets and skipping up under stuff. So once I do this, I'm going to take and then push the barb of my hook up through the bait just like this, and then your barb's going to stick out, and then I'm just going to barely put the tip of it into the bait. That makes it completely weedless. When the fish bite this, the hook pops out just like that. You set the hook, you got the fish. That's a simple way to rig up a fluke. Now, the way you work the fluke is just like a jerkbait, like I was talking about earlier. There's two techniques that I use. It's called dancing a fluke, where I'm working it really fast. It's jumping in and out of the water. That's typically during the summer months. This time of year, I'm skipping it up under docks. I'm chasing those post-spawn fish, and I'm slowly just pop, 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 pop. I'm letting it flutter up and then dive back down, flip, dive back down. A lot of times, like what I experienced the other day on Smith Lake, they just wasn't getting it really good. That will ensure that you can watch that fluke, you can see them come up, grab it, and then set the hook. You'll catch a lot more fish. Another essential soft plastic. You got to have crawfish. The bass are going to eat crawfish. It's a main food source, whether you're in a pond, creek, lake, river. I like the Yum Christy Cross. I use these all the time. They have a completely different action than most other cross. And the way that I rig these up, I'll take the same Gamakatsu hook. I'll slide it down in there just to where the bend is. See the bend in the hook? I'll slide it up to right there at the bend. Turn it up just like that. Now, I twist that up, and then your hook's going to look like this. I take my hook, go all the way through the bait where it's sticking out like this, and then barely skin hook it. See how the crawl is perfectly straight? It's weedless. If they bite it, you know, the hook pops out again, just like I showed you on the fluke. So, crawfish, you gotta have it. Doesn't matter what colors. Once again, your green pumpkins, your black and blues, oranges, stuff like that. I mean, keep it really simple. All right, another one that I use all the time, especially during the summer months, your ribbon tail worms. Your Yum and your Zoom ribbon tail worms, them are the ones that I use, that I like to use. I've used ever since I was a kid. The way that I rig it up is the same exact way that I showed you how to rig up the fluke and the crawl. I'm going to go through the head, come out, go around, skin hook it. This allows me to swim it, to work it on bottom, the whole 9 yards. So, that's a great one. Now, moving on. Let's talk about shaky head fishing. Now, there's a lot of people out there that love shaky heads. They catch fish no matter where you are, no matter what age, what level you're at. And I'm using the Big Bite Baits one. This one's got the screw lock on it. Now, what I do, I take my Zoom Trick worm, and you screw this up on there. Okay? So, we're going to tighten this all the way up. Just like this. It'll look just like this. Now, all I'm going to do, I'm going to get the tip of my hook right here, and then I'm going to push my worm forward. Barely stick the tip of your hook in there, and then just pull down. Just like this, until you get a straight worm. Now, once that worm's straight, what this does, it makes it completely weedless, but when you set the hook, the bass pushes that down when it bites it, it's going to hook them every time. It's a real simple way to use the shaky head. So you got to have the screw lock shaky heads. Now, another one that I use all the time, I've caught tons of big fish using this lure, whether I'm fishing tournaments or whether I'm just out fun fishing, doing a show, whatever. A Yum Dinger. You got to have a Yum Dinger. It's a straight tail worm. It doesn't have a whole lot of action unless you rig it certain ways. It's perfect for wacky rigs, shaky heads, Texas rigs, the whole 9 yards. Most of the time, the way that I set this thing up, I've got that weight that I showed you on top, and then I'm just standard Texas rig it like I showed you with the flukes and the crawls. So your Yum Dingers, they'll catch you a lot of fish. A lot of big ones too. But another one, this is for your heavy cover applications. When the fish are on bed, they're deep up in trees, stuff like that. Get you a creature bait. It doesn't matter if it's a lizard. This is a Gary Yamamoto flipping hog or something like that in June bug color. The way that I rig this up is I've got some type of weight on top. Typically the 3/8 ounce tungsten weight I was telling you about. What I do, take your Gamakatsu flipping hook. You're going to rig it straight through the bend right there. I'm going to push it through just like this. Push it all the way up till it catches the barb on the back, just like this. See, there's a little barb or keeper on the back. You probably can't see it. But then I take the flipping hook and then just barely skin hook it. Just like that. That'll keep that bait straight, tight, and when you throw it up in cover, they gotta get it. It gives off a crazy action. So that is 6 baits that you can use to guarantee your success. Basic setups, stuff like that. Okay, guys, I appreciate you watching. If you feel like the information was valuable, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe down there below. All the baits and stuff that I go over every time will be linked down in the description. So all you got to do is go down there, click on it, and jump you to Tackle Warehouse. You can order whatever you need to order. So, guys, once again, I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next Sunday. If you got any questions, don't forget to drop a comment or contact me on Facebook, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. I'll answer it every time. Appreciate it, guys.